Yes, thank you for joining us yet again on the morning flight on Global Expressions, where we entertain you beyond borders. Let me ask you this question. Do you really know the councillor that serves you in your area? Or possibly you know the gentleman that represents you in your House of Assembly? I wouldn't want to go to the Senate, but let me possibly stop with those questions. We'll soon be having a gentleman that I'll be talking to virtually, where we dissect the architecture of governance in Nigeria. But before we go there, lady and gentlemen,
Hey, that is a very important question.
do you know the councillor?
Are you asking me? Honestly, that is one question that we need to start asking ourselves because, rightly so, not many people know the councillor. I like the way you said it, not even the local government chairman. You started from the very roots, the councillor.
The councillor.
And
That represents your ward.
Yes.
the truth of the matter is, I have no idea.
Do you?
I don't even know whether it's a she
Or he.
or a he or, what that person is expected to do. But, when it comes to the government, that's why we see a lot of things just happen the way it is because many of us and several people, especially in the Nigerian system of government, are unaware of the responsibilities or even the positions, the structures of government starting from you. So that's why I'm excited that we're looking at this particular topic where we're discussing the government exactly and you.
Why do we have that apathy? Because if you ask me too, and I will say it here, I really don't know the councillor. Yes, I know the senator. Yeah, I know the member of the House of Reps.
Yeah.
Yeah, the House of, usually the councillor, the local government chairman, and the member of the House of Assembly, because the third tier of government really is the closest to the masses.
Yeah.
Talking about the local government.
Yeah.
But most times, apart from maybe when they're probably campaigning, that's when you probably see people and I keep asking, why is that apathy?
It's quite sad in itself, sincerely, because the structure is supposed to be, it's supposed to be community-based. Because that's why sometimes I tell you that if you want to come up for politics or want to come up for any election or any office, they ask you that you have to get to know the people, starting from the community. And it's that there's a disconnect because a good number of Nigerians are like, I don't want to bother myself with this thing. But there's something called the civil rights. There's something called your rights. There's something called the things that you're supposed to know. These are truths that you're supposed to understand and be aware, be acquainted with. Because if you do not do it, if you don't know these things, you can't function. That's why most times this disconnect has been from the people who have been disgruntled that I'm tired of this matter, I cannot continue. But of a truth, we need to start, if we're to start questioning government, most times, most Nigerians are quick to run to the president, forgetting that before the president, there is a councillor. Because that's the channel. It starts with the councillor, from the council of the word, to the local government chairman, to the House of Assembly, the State House of Assembly, before the governor.
For me,
Okay,
I believe
sorry.
disconnect.
1 minute, sorry. You can join in. Very soon you will see the numbers on the screen. Feel free to call us and tell us really if you know the councillor representing you or your local government chairman or even the member of House of Assembly who represents you in the House of Assembly. And in case you do not know, just in case you don't know, why don't you? Why is that apathy? But shortly also, we'll be talking to our guest too. Chioma.
Yeah, like you were asking, Paul, what's the disconnect? I feel the disconnect has to do with our educational system. These are things that should be taught in schools. You do not know anything about the government except you get into secondary school. And that is even between SS1 and SS3. From your JSS 1 into JS 3, you do not do government. It's not part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a correction in the curriculum because the people or the citizens of the country should be educated. The only thing we learned basically most of the time that ever stuck with anyone who did government was that you knew there were 3 tiers of government. You knew the legislative arm, the judiciary arm. You knew the executive arm of government. We knew the executive was the president. You knew the judiciary had to do with the courts and everything. You knew the legislative were those who were policymakers.
Yes,
and
the
the rest of,
parliamentarians and all
you know,
that.
that was it. But having to understand who is a councillor, what is the councillor supposed to do? You rightly said, a councillor is someone that's supposed to represent you in your ward or in your division. Now, not just representing, you're supposed to know if there are issues within the streets, within the community, people have queries, they have things that are plaguing them in the community. Maybe, for example, there has been no electricity in about 1 week. Are you, the first people go to is the NEPA people, the NEPA officials. You're like, this NEPA people. But meanwhile, you're supposed to report that case to your councillor, who takes it up to the local government chairman, who takes it up from there, and, you know, the
Even
structure.
the road.
Even the
Yes.
road on your street,
Yes.
who is responsible? Are you, is not the president, because
You're
every
likely to
time you
say
hear
Buhari.
stuff, President Buhari is destroying this country.
Every
Buhari,
matter.
everything is the president.
Yes.
Everything is the president. Meanwhile, there are people who are in offices who are taking fat salaries monthly and not carrying out their right duties. And that is why this education is really important. And for people to know, look, if anything is wrong, this is the person to hold responsible. Because during the days of election, like you rightly said, you only see them in election times.
Yeah.
You now see a poster, you see a very strange face, vote for councillor, and you're like, I don't even know you. Meanwhile, people are supposed to know and recognize you based on the CSRO works that you have carried out in that community for you to be, first of all, in the first place, be eligible for such positions of authority in the government.
Okay, another question.
Yeah.
When we have governorship election, there's usually a large turnout. But when we have elections into the local
Local
government,
governments.
we have lesser turnout. Which should be more important? The local government chairman, the councillor, who is serving you on a day-to-day basis, or the governor of your state? But you know what we'll do? We'll reserve that question. I understand that Bolanle Olugbani, Esquire Public Affairs Analyst, has joined us to take a look at the architecture of governance in Nigeria. Good morning, a pleasure having you on our program, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, sir. Right. We will want you to break it down for us, the roles vis-a-vis of a councillor, a local government chairman, a member of the House of Assembly. What are their roles? And how close or how far distant are they to the masses?
Well, the House of Assembly members and the councillors at the local government are essentially lawmakers. The local government is broken up into wards, and each councillor represents each ward of his local government. So they make bylaws for the local government, including some form of taxes, rates, market levies, and bylaws that have to do or help to solidify and enhance local government administration in Nigeria. For the State House of Assembly members, the state is broken into constituencies. These constituencies are about 40 in Lagos State. That is, in each local government, there are 2 House of Assembly members. These House of Assembly members make laws for the state government, which can be sponsored by them, sponsored privately, or by the state government itself. So that is essentially their function. Both bodies have a right under the laws of this country and the Constitution to impeach a local government chairman and a state governor by 2/3 majority votes if they commit a political offense that warrants impeachment.
Well, before my co-host ask you this question, let me just quickly ask you this one. Do you know the councillor representing your area, sir?
For my area, I do.
You do.
I do.
Okay, and you also know the member of House of Assembly?
Yes, I do.
Okay, fine, but most Nigerians actually do not know the councillor particularly, even the local government chairman. Why do you think this is so?
I think this is so because it's a disconnect between the governed and those governing them. I think most people have lost interest in the democratic process because their votes, in their humble opinion, doesn't seem to matter. Elections may not be reflecting what they actually want, as in people who should govern them and people who should represent them. So they just believe that this bunch of politicians are there to serve their own interests and everybody gets on with his life. So there's a disconnect. There's no backward linkage between your representative and the people. There's no accountability. There's no communication most times. And when monies are allocated for constituency projects, you find politicians diverting or outrightly looting the funds.
Yeah, you did highlight the fact that there is a disconnect, and as a result of this disconnect, there's a lot of non-accountability of these individuals that are in the position of authority. Now my question is, should we allow this disconnect to continue? Because that you say that the electoral process of you've lost interest in the democratic system of the country will further deepen or worsen the problem. So should we let the disconnect continue, or should we can't act nonchalant and leave things to be just the way they are?
I think everybody has a duty to participate in the democratic process.
Yeah.
You find out that when they need our votes for an upcoming election, whether at local, state, or federal level, you see them holding town hall meetings, constituency meetings. They begin to have meetings and give out token sewing machines, pepper grinders, tricycles, motorcycles, and what they call economic empowerment, like a bribe for the period when they need us to cast their votes for them. So we should not give up. Everybody must participate. And the quality of those participating is from the followership to the leadership. Unfortunately, godfatherism, lackeyism, cronyism does not allow a quality process, okay, in choosing those who should represent us. And when there is a majority of these so-called people in the ruling party, they tend to behave as if it's a cult. And they are merely rubber stamps most times. And the oversight functions, which should be done on various departments and ministries and agencies, both at local and state level and federal level, are not done properly. So, but we must not give up, because to give up is to give up on this country.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much for that. My question, because I'm concerned about where in a particular environment or in the constituency or anything that there's the projects that are supposed to be carried out are not carried out properly. Example, the roads. Example, the hospitals or what we have, the community healthcare centers. If all of these things are not properly done, what is the right channel that the citizenry can take? Where do we channel our complaints to? How do we follow the chain of command? How do we do it? Do we just, because we keep hearing people blame the president, we all run to the governor, the president. What is the right way to do? And do the citizens have the ability to recall or ask for the recall of a sitting House of Assembly if he's not properly doing, he or she is not properly doing He is not carrying out his functions properly. What do we do? Do we have the right to say we want you back?
If a project or a road or any form of civil works or activity for the benefit of the people at the local, state, and federal level is not properly done, in each legislature, in each tier of government, there is a committee that carries out oversight functions on ministries, departments, and agencies responsible for all of this. They can call to question the contractor, those who awarded the contracts, and they can make a probe on the quality of work done, ask for money to be refunded, and they can even recommend that the contractor should be prosecuted and money returned. So these are all oversight functions which the citizenry can approach their representatives for, to initiate this oversight monitoring and this form of accounting process to make sure that things are done well. Where the citizen feels that the representative is compromised or is not active enough, he also has the right to write a petition to the general body of the legislature, whether at the councillor level, at the House of Assembly level, or at the federal level, to ask that the matter be looked into. There's also the Public Complaints Commission at the federal level. I think there are similar bodies at the state and local government level, whose duty is to look into such issues and act upon it. So there are ways, and the Freedom of Information Act has also assisted, where you can go get an order of court after requesting information, if not given, and the information must be provided as to how, when, what, and why, to ensure that things are done properly. But Nigerians are not properly educated. Most Nigerians are not properly enlightened. So you find a situation where the citizens just throw their arms up in despair, and the system and the process is not fully exhausted because they think that it's not worthwhile. It always ends up in the way that they don't imagine.
I'll be asking you a two-legged question. The first one is, do you have an idea of the monthly allocation of local government from the federal government? And also, more importantly, how autonomous are local government administrations in Nigeria?
The local government administration in Nigeria, by the decision of the Supreme Court, has been made an appendage of the state government. The House of Assembly of every state can make laws for the administration of the local government in the state. So, forgetting that we are running a presidential system, and the chairman of a local government is actually like the governor of the local government. He has a customary court. He has supervisory councillors who are like ministers or commissioners. He also has a legislature, legislative council that makes laws. So in the local government, there's an executive headed by the chairman. The vice chairman is the deputy governor of the local government. The legislative council is the legislature. Customary court is the judiciary. But because the Supreme Court says the House of Assembly can make laws for the administration of the local government system has been virtually castrated in Nigeria. They are deemed to be third-class citizens in our democratic process. And so, they have also, by virtue of a federal accounts and allocation committee, determined what money goes at the federal level to each local government. By virtue of the Supreme Court decision, the state governors established joint account committees. So the state governors collect money